put, Mr. Speaker, to pass this motion, shall we require 2/3 of 345 members or 349 members? In my view, vacant seats should not be counted.
Order. You can't ask a question and answer it. You cannot ask the question and answer it.
Honorable Speaker, let me prosecute. I'm trying to prosecute my point of order. In my view, vacant seat should not be counted in determining the voting threshold. Further, I wish to seek your clarification on whether our proceedings are varied in the right of the 4 vacant seats. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. You've made your point. Bashir.
Honorable Speaker, Article 145 and 150 of the Constitution provides for removal of the Deputy President. Our standing order goes to great length on the same to explain the procedure for removal of the Deputy President, as stipulated under Standing Orders 64 and 65. Honorable Speaker, what is clear from reading of Articles 145 and 150 of the Constitution is that the role of this House is just to pass the resolution as to whether the Deputy President shall be impeached or not. It is the exclusive role of the Senate to conduct the trial process. Simply put, we are the initiators and the Senate will be the trial house. Honorable Speaker, consequently, I seek your guidance on whether it is necessary to invite the Deputy President to this House in terms of the right to be heard, noting we have nothing to do with the real process. In my view, the Deputy President shall be required to appear before the Senate, but nevertheless, I seek your indulgence on this matter. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, we'll leave it there. Yes, Janet.
Mr. Speaker, I don't intend to anticipate debate.
I will not allow you to.
Yeah, because this is just a notice of motion. But Mr. Speaker, there are matters that surround the notice of the motion that needs your guidance and action, Mr. Speaker, because, Mr. Speaker, this is a very momentous issue. Because, as you're aware, when this country gave itself the new constitution, Mr. Speaker, Kenyans were very happy. And this is one of the moments in this House, Mr. Speaker, when we are going to exercise Article 150, which has not happened before. So, Mr. Speaker, this is a very, very important matter for this nation, Mr. Speaker, that is being exercised through this House. But having said, Mr. Speaker, as you're aware, there are members from our side and members from the other side who have signed to this petition, to this motion, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I wanted to get your assurance as the boss of this House, as the leader of this House, as the Speaker of this House, Mr. Speaker, that the 291 members of Parliament who have signed to this motion, Mr. Speaker, their safety and security will be guaranteed, Mr. Speaker. Because the motion does not end at the tabling, at the notice of motion today. It will go through a process. It will be formally again moved. Members will debate and members will vote on it. Mr. Speaker, we want those 291 members of Parliament to turn up here the day of voting, Mr. Speaker, without missing any one of them, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have just passed the new Inspector General of Police the other day here, Mr. Kanja. Not really. He must take responsibility as the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Speaker, to guarantee the safety, as the Inspector General of the country, Mr. Speaker, to guarantee the safety and the security of the 291 members of the... Mr. Speaker, you know this thing. What we are doing is not a small thing, Mr. Speaker. When Trump was being removed, was being impeached in the United States, Mr. Speaker, you know what he attempted to do. And what can happen here, you know, Mr. Speaker. And let us not fight, let us not begrudge anyone, because what the House is doing is constitutional, because the House is just exercising its mandate. It's not doing anything outside the Constitution. There is nothing unconstitutional that's happening in this House, Mr. Speaker. You can impeach a cabinet secretary, you can impeach a deputy president, you can impeach the president if you wish so. So, Mr. Speaker, this is an exercise that is given to us by the Constitution. So, Mr. Speaker,
You've made your point.
I have made my point, but I conclude by saying this, Mr. Speaker. That, Mr. Speaker, when we were elected, Mr. Speaker, as members of Parliament, we became the staff of the Parliamentary Service Commission. Each member here, Mr. Speaker, they are employees of the Parliamentary Service Commission, which you are the chairman, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I have spoken on behalf of the members, because when they were signing, that is what they told me, Mr. Speaker, as the minority leader. They told me, we are in support of this thing, we are really ready to move, but we want things done legally and procedurally and within the Constitution, inside Parliament and outside Parliament. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. I don't want to open debate. Yes, Whip, what's your point of order?
Honourable Speaker, I also seek your guidance and indulgence on the notice of motion that has just been tabled here today, because we all agree that post-2010 Constitution, this is unprecedented. In as much as it happened years back, this is very new, post-2010 Constitution, and we will need a bit of some guidance. Ordinarily, Honourable Speaker, any motion that is brought before this House and that is of public interest goes through the entire process, including public participation, Honourable Speaker. I need to seek your guidance and indulgence on the place for public participation as far as this notice of motion is concerned. Because looking at the jurisprudence that has been made by the courts and the lower legislative arm, which is the county assemblies, on the impeachments of the governors and deputy governors, Honourable Speaker, you'll realize and notice that many impeached governors or their deputies challenge their impeachment based on the process of public participation, Honourable Speaker. This is unprecedented, and of course it's my view that to replicate the same, to what happens on the impeachment of governors and deputy governors, and they invoke the element of public participation across the country.
You've made your point.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Majority Leader. Before you, Majority Leader, Farah has been raising his hand. I'll give you 1 minute, Farah.
Mr. Speaker, I also join the other colleagues in this, but I've just one very important, most important in this country to raise. Not only do we have to protect the lives of 291 members of parliament who have appended their signature there, we must also protect the system. The IG must protect our president to the hilt. Because you know the kind of a constitution we have. Any reckless thug can decide to change the course of history if, God forbid, anything were to happen to our president. You get my point? And there are people who we have been so worried lately. I get the feeling that they can even have the capacity to plan something like that. Let us make sure this information goes out. Our president must be protected to the hilt until this motion is over. Because if, God forbid, anything were to happen, then we have something much bigger to worry about.
Thank you.
And those guys are...
You're the last one, that.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. My Honourable Speaker, if you will indulge me, I'll add something.